Um, hmm. So in the previous session, guys, we have seen yesterday we have seen more object oriented, like what is the purpose of a constructor and this keyword, and how to initialize your class variables with the local variable of the constructor, how to create the object and everything. Today, I'm going to cover one important topic, which is like again Java, not Selenium. Exception handling, because exception handling is the very important topic, and we should know how to handle exception, and what kind of exceptions are there, and how to handle, okay, what are different keywords are available, and when to use, and which keyword, like we have throws keyword, we have throw keyword, we have try catch block, how to use, when to use, and what is the purpose of that. And then I'll discuss one interview question also with you guys, that what is the hierarchy of error and exception classes. Okay, that's a very important interview question. So let's do that. So when, what is exception handling? Because what do you mean by, first of all, exception? So exception is that any unwanted, I would say, exception or behavior of the program, so that it will terminate your program. It will terminate your code, and then JVM will completely, uh, it will be completely terminated, and then program is over. Okay, somewhere in between. What is the reason? The reason, it can be anything. So we have different types of exception that we have. Let's see, null pointer exception, we have array index out of bound exception, we have timeout exception, we have, okay, different kind of exception is, a string out of bound exception. There's so many exceptions are there that you cannot remember each and every exception, but you should know, and that, okay, this particular line might give you, let's say, file not found exception. You have created a file, and that you are not able to read that file. So, or that file is not available in your system, and you are still able to access that file. So in that case, it will give you IO exception or file input, okay, file not found exception or something like this. So you never know that when exactly the exception is coming sometimes. So when we execute the program, then we get to know that, okay, yes, it's giving some exception, so we have to handle it. But these days, Eclipse and these editor tools are very smart. Immediately, it will give you a suggestion that, sometimes you get the suggestion that add try catch block or throws keyword or something like this. So try catch block is important, okay, not that important for Selenium point of view, and but people might ask you a couple of questions, okay, for interview. So it's better that we cover exception also. So let me create a class. Right click and create a class. Let's see, my class name is exception handling. Select the main method, and let's see, click on finish. Right. So let's see, this is my class name. In this particular class, I'll write one statement that uh, let's see, int I is equal to 9 divided by 0. Right, int I is equal to 9 divided by 0. So Eclipse is not giving any suggestion, Eclipse is not giving any error also. It's a very simple thing that I have written int I equal to 9 divided by 0. And in the next line, simple, I'll write system.out.println, I'll try to print of I. So compiler won't be able to check that what is the error, right? So, and Eclipse also, it's not giving any error over here. So this is called, okay guys, this is called uncaught exception. Okay, that you never know that, okay, what kind of exception is coming over here. So this is called uncaught exception, that, okay, it cannot be caught, right? So if you run this program, that as a programmer you are not able to catch this, that you are not able to uh, you know catch this, like what exactly the problem. Then when you run it, then you will get to know that, okay, yes, it's giving you okay, some error or some exception. So if you run this program, it will give you an exception, that arithmetic exception, divide by 0, that any number cannot be divided by 0. It will give you infinite. So obviously that and it's saying that, okay, on line number Java 7, okay, it's giving this particular exception. So in Java, any number cannot be divided by 0, but we cannot catch it, right? Programmatically we can catch it, but compiler or Eclipse or your tool or as a programmer, but you never know. You have to execute it and then you will get to know, right? So this type of, okay, this type of exceptions are called uncaught exception, right? This is example of uncaught. Okay, uncaught exception. Now let me comment this line, otherwise it will give you exception. Now what is caught exception? Caught exception means where, okay, you will get to know that, okay, yes, immediately that, let's say I'll write thread dot sleep for 2 seconds. So what is thread dot sleep? Thread is a class and sleep is a method, and 2000 milliseconds I have written over here. 2000 millisecond means 2 seconds, right? 2000 divided by 1000, so it will be 2 seconds. So this is called caught exception, that immediately Java will get to know that, okay, this exception, okay, immediately it will give you a suggestion that either you handle it unhandle exception, or, okay, exception type interrupted exception. So it will give you interrupted exception or something like this. So it will give you immediately one suggestion that, okay, either you handle it by throws declaration or surround it with try catch block. So this is called caught exception, that immediately we'll get to know about it, that it might give you like this. But here we don't have any hint over here that, okay, is it arithmetic exception, or maybe it won't give you any exception. So this is called uncaught exception. So thread.sleep is example of caught exception, right? So let me comment this line also. Now sometime what happens that, okay guys, let's see, I have one class. Let's see, this is the class reference I create. Let's see, reference is simple obj is equal to null I create, right? And okay, I have one variable, let's see, int a is equal to 10. Okay, and then what I'll do, that system dot out println obj dot, okay, although we haven't created the object, so let's see, I'm just printing the value of obj only. Forget about this int a equal to 10. So what exactly I'm doing, that I'm not creating any object. I'm just creating one reference which is equal to null. This is a null reference. So in that case, if you run it, okay, it's giving you null. So, but if you perform any action with this obj, or let's say I'll write like this, obj is equal to new, okay, I create now the proper object, right? And then in the next line, I'll do one thing, that obj is equal to null. I'll make it null. And then if you run it again, it will give you obj. Okay, I mean, it will give you the null value, because ultimately obj is equal to null. So now let's see, I'll declare int a is equal to, okay, at the class level, int a is equal to 10, and then I try to access obj dot a, okay, and then if you run it, it will give you null pointer exception. So that's why we get null pointer exception, that obj, you have created the object, but somehow you declare your obj object reference to null. You declare your object reference to null. Now it means, what happened inside the memory? Guys, please be on mute. So what happens inside the memory, that I created one object. This object got created, right? One object got created. The value of a equal to 10 will be stored over here. That a is equal to this 10. A equal to 10. Fine. And who is referring this particular object? Obj is referring. Obj is referring this particular object, right? Obj is referring this particular object, and in the next line, so if you, without this line number 17, if you write obj.a, it will print 10, obviously, right? But what exactly you have done, that you have cancelled this reference. This is called cancellation, reference cancellation. So you have declared your object reference to null. It means now this particular object obj is not referring this particular object. So this object is now without any reference. Okay, now that's a problem, that now this obj, the name is not giving, is not referring or not representing any object. And then there is a, we have broken the connection between obj and this particular object. So now if you try to access obj.a, immediately it will give you null pointer exception. So whenever we get null pointer exception, in that case, always assume that, not assume it, there is a guarantee that maybe your object, okay, is not declared properly, or maybe your object reference got null, or somehow you, given the null, value to your reference. Sometime what happens that, especially we will see in page object model, you get null pointer exception. It's a very common exception over there. So let's see, I'll okay, I don't create this object like this. I forgot to create the object. I just created this, let's see, at the global level. So more appropriate example I'll give you at a time of page object model, that what is the problem with this. Okay, sometimes we create like this obj, and then okay, let's see, make it static so that you can access over here. So I declared one, object reference over here, and I forget to create the object, the full object. I just created the reference, but I forget to create the, so again it will give you null. And if you try to access any obj.a over here, obj.a, then it will give you null pointer, right? So then it will give you null pointer exception. So in that case, guys, always remember that it's not like that, you just declare the reference and you are not creating the object. So you have to create the object. So both are same thing. Either you write obj equal to null, or you don't give the value of obj to this particular reference, or you cancel the reference by creating obj equal to null. In both the cases, it will give you null pointer exception. So this is also kind of exception, right? So how to handle such kind of situation? So to handle such kind of situation, we use exception handling. So what are different types of exception handling? So we have three different types of exception handling. So let me delete this code. We don't use this. Let me comment these lines. So we have, first type of exception is called try catch block, right? So we have this try catch block. So what do you mean by try catch block? Try catch block means you, what you see first, that this particular line might give you one exception, then you handle inside the catch block. So how to do that? Just a minute. Yeah, sorry about that. So try catch block means, first you see that this line or this particular line of code, or multiple lines are there which they might give you an exception. So you just put them inside the try block, and then whenever any exception is thrown, you have to catch inside the catch block. So exception will be caught inside the catch block. So how to write try catch block? So let's see, I have this thing, right? Int I is equal to 9 divided by 0, and I know that this line will give you an exception, right? So what do you do? Simple, you write like this, try like this, try int I equal to, try is a keyword, starting body and ending body. So you know that this particular exception, this particular line On line number 18, it will give you an exception. So you just put inside the try block. It will come inside the try block and it will execute that, okay, fine, int I equal to 9 but divide by 0, it's giving an exception. But with try block, you have to write one more clause that is called catch block, catch, and catch bracket like this, the starting body and ending body. Okay, try and catch. So this is a pair, try catch pair or try catch block. You cannot define try alone, because inside the try, which code we have to write? This code will give you an exception. So the code which is giving an exception, we have to write this particular code inside the try block. So this code will, I would say, throw an exception. Okay, so yes, this code will throw an exception. In that case, int I equal to 9 divided by 0. So immediately exception will be thrown, and then immediately, let's see, I have written something like this over here, system.out.println. Let's see, ABC. Okay, I have written ABC over here. And catch block, what exactly says that, okay, catch is just like a keyword and then bracket, and here we have to tell what kind of exception it is giving. So let's see, we know that, okay, it's giving arithmetic exception. So we can write that, okay, press control space, it will give you arithmetic exception, and then let's say create the exception reference E, like this. So inside the catch block, guys, you have to write what is the exception name, and this exception is a class available in java.lang package arithmetic exception. It's saying it is thrown when an exception arithmetic condition has occurred. For example, divide by 0. See, it's clearly written. For example, divide by 0 throws an instance of this class. Arithmetic exception objects may be constructed by the virtual machine if, okay, whatever. So what exactly is saying that, okay, arithmetic exception will be thrown whenever you are writing this particular code. So immediately it will come inside the catch block and we'll see that, okay, yes, it's giving you arithmetic exception, and then do it. So now if you run this program, what will happen? You just simple run as Java application and you will see that now it is not giving any exception, or your program is not getting terminated. So why we have to use exception handling? Why this is called handling? Because you are handling exceptions. If somehow by some mistake, or you never know, some exception is totally unpredictable behavior, sometime it is coming, so your code should not be terminated, right? Your code or your program should not be terminated in between. So I want that, okay, if you don't handle it and if you directly write like this, immediately on line number 10 it will give you an exception. But if you handle it properly with the help of try catch block, so this line will, what, this line will throw an exception. Immediately it will come on line number 20, it will see that, okay, yes, we are okay, it is giving one yeah, so it is giving one exception. We will catch it over here, and then, okay, if you want to print something over here inside the catch block, like what kind of exception you want to tell to the user. So let's see, we have e dot print stack trace method is there. So just remember this method, guys. This is, people might ask you what is print stack trace. So if you run it now, it will give you, see, it's printing ABC, fine. So if you run it again so that we can get the proper output, yeah, see, it's giving you, it's not terminating your program, it's giving you an exception that, okay, let me remove this diagram first. Yeah, so it's printing ABC, that's fine. So if you, let's see, I print ABC 5 times like this, and then if you run it, see, ABC is getting printed 5 times. It is not terminating your program, but it is giving you, because of this e dot print stack trace, that where exactly the problem, on which line. This is a class, okay, exception handling dot java. On line number 18, this is the problem, that arithmetic exception and divide by 0 error is coming, right? So it is giving you that, fine, this is a problem, and but it is not terminating your program, okay, like this. So but if you, let's see, if you don't try in the form of try catch block, let me comment. Okay, and then you write like this, int I equal to 9 divided by 0, and you don't handle it by try catch block, and you see that, okay, so immediately on line number 10 program will be terminated. Okay, so if you run it, see, program will be terminated on line number 10, Java 10, and then you will see that ABC 5 times is not getting printed. So immediately on line number 10, okay, it will give you an exception, program is terminated, and then, okay, all the subsequent lines are not getting executed. So this is a problem that I don't want that, okay, my program should be terminated suddenly, and then I want to handle it with the help of try catch block. So you will handle it with try catch block like this. Okay, so this is try catch block. One more method is there, that, okay, system.out.println e dot get message. Okay, e dot get message. So if you run it, so it will give you that what is the, okay, what is the actual message. Okay, e dot get message will give you that what is the actual error. So it will give you this divide by 0 error. Okay, divide by 0 error. So the question here is that why we use try catch block. So try catch block, guys, is very useful when you have obviously exception is coming, so you can handle it with the help of try catch block. But try catch block, guys, also used for reporting point of view. Reporting means if you want to, okay, report your exception, not that reporting, that output Selenium reporting and all. It is used when you have to report something. Let's see, any exception is coming, or your Selenium code, okay, suddenly got exception. It will come inside the catch block, and you can take the screenshot, and you just okay, you can generate a log also, that, okay, this is a problem or something like this, element not found exception or whatever, and simple you can print stack trace that, okay, where exactly the problem, so that you can debug the code properly, that, okay, in this particular line, okay, in this particular code, in this particular Java class, this exception is coming. So try catch block is used, okay, when some error is coming, or sorry, some exception is coming, and then we have to report something. In that case, we have to use, okay, try catch block. But you will get to know what exactly the difference between now try catch and throws keyword. So I would say, let's see, this is exception handling with the help of try catch block. Now let's create one more. I don't want to uh, write the same code in, because you will understand it better. Let's say I'll create one more class. Simple right click and create a class, and my class is how to use throws keyword. Okay, how to use throws keyword. Now see, this is important. Throws keyword is also used, okay, to handle the exceptions. I don't know you guys have heard about it. So throws keyword is also used to handle the exception, and but in throws keyword we don't report anything. There is no option to report anything. But in try catch block we can report that, yes, any exception is coming, come inside the catch block, and then whatever you want to print, you can print it over here. You can print your own message also. Let's say system.out.println, something like this. Hey, this is divide by 0 error, something like this. So if you run it, see, I'm getting this. Hey, my own message also you can print, reporting also you can do, right? Or maybe you want to take a screenshot when you are doing your UI automation. All those things you can do it inside the catch block. Now the question here is with throws keyword. So what is the purpose of throws keyword? Throws keyword is always used when we have method chaining, right, guys? So let's see, I have one method, public void some method, okay, and I have another method, public void division method, right? What I'm doing over here in this particular division method, I have written int I is equal to 9 divided by 0. Okay, int I is equal to 9 divided by 0. So obviously this particular and this sum method and this div method I'm calling over here. Okay, this div method I'm calling over here, and then this sum method I'm calling inside the main method. So how to call sum method? We have to create the object of this particular class. Let's see, obj is equal to new. So I simple write obj dot sum. Now what will happen? That moment I call obj dot sum, it will come over here. Inside the sum method, I'm calling div method. So okay, it will call div method. It will come inside a div method, and on line number 16, it will give you an exception. So now you have two choices. Either you write try catch block and then handle this exception, or you can write a keyword that is called throws keyword. Okay, throws keyword you have to write after your method name. So like this. Okay, public void div and simple write throws what kind of exception you might accept. Okay, arithmetic exception. So it means no need to write for individual lines. So let's say you have 1,000 lines of code, and out of 1,000 lines, let's say 10 lines or let's say 100 lines are giving an exception at different places, or different lines. 100 lines are giving some exception. So 100 times you have to write try catch block, try catch block, try catch block. So to avoid that situation, sometimes we use throws arithmetic exception. Unnecessary, let's see, a single try catch block, it's taking around, let's see, 5 lines of code. So it is coming around 100 times, 500 lines you are writing extra again and again. So in that case, for small methods or maybe some small features, you can write like this also, that div method is giving some arithmetic exception, that int I equal to 0. Okay, now div method throwing an exception. Throwing means this method just has thrown the exception. But who will catch it? Who will catch this particular exception? The responsibility of try catch block, inside a try catch block, if that particular exception is thrown, okay, this line number 18 exception is thrown inside the try block, who will catch it? Catch block is there. But with throws keyword, div method is throwing an exception, but who will catch it? Right? Who will catch it? Some method will catch it. Okay, some method will catch it. Why some method? Because some method is calling div method over here. So now it's some method responsibility. Okay, some method responsibility to call, okay, to catch this particular exception, because some method is calling div method, right? So again, what I have to do? Again, I have to write throws keyword over here. Okay, throws.
Naveen, can we call div method directly without creating object?
Yeah, we can call, because this is also not a static and div is also not a static, so we can call. Okay, so now, okay, what exactly you're saying? Yeah, so div method on line number 16, okay, is giving an exception, throwing an exception. So that's why div is throws arithmetic exception. But who will catch it? The question here is who will catch it? So some method will catch it. Why? Why some method? Because some method is internally calling div. So it's some method responsibility to catch this exception, and then some method will also throw this exception to whom? To main method. Because why? Because main method is calling some method now, right? So this exception, okay, generated by div method, and div throws in this exception or to some says that okay, yes, I'll catch it, and I'll throw this because div method I'm calling, and I'll also throw this exception, and this exception will be given to main method now. Main method, why main method? Because main is also calling some method. Now main method also will throw this exception. So ultimately, nobody is catching it. Everyone is just getting that exception and throwing it actually. So again, after throws, okay, after main method also we have to write like this, arithmetic exception, right? So main method is calling some method is calling div is generating an exception. So an exception is coming over here. This is your exception line. Let's see. So it will be given to from div to sum. Why sums? Because sum is calling div, and then sum to main. Why main? Because main is calling sum. But now main method has thrown exception, that is arithmetic exception has been thrown. But who will catch it now? But at least someone has to take the responsibility, right? Who will catch it? The exception has been thrown from method to method, and finally, okay, it is reached to main method, and main method is also throwing this exception. But who will take it? Now this exception will be taken care by JVM, because whenever you execute your program, okay, JVM will call the main method. So JVM will see that, okay, yes, oh, main method is throwing an exception, so that exception will be caught by JVM now. So always remember this particular thing, this concept, that JVM will accept this particular exception. Right, now if you run this program, right, so it will give you, see now the sequence. Whenever we get this, right, we sometime we get, have you seen your logs and the output that it's coming like this, that throws keyword java 7 is giving an exception on line number 7. Okay, from line number 7 it moved to div, okay, line number 12. See java 12 over here, and then java 16 it came over here, and then finally on line number java, okay, 16, it's giving this particular arithmetic exception like this, right? So finally JVM is giving this particular, okay, complete hierarchy. This is called exception hierarchy completely, that okay, yes, exception is thrown, okay, and how exactly it switched from one place to, or one method to another method. So this is how we use throws keyword. Okay, this is how we use throws keyword. So throws keyword, the difference is that with try catch block, yeah, throws keyword obviously will terminate, because we are not, okay, handling it. JVM is handling it, so ultimately it will terminate. So throws keyword, what exactly? So I'll tell you how to handle it. Okay, the problem with throws keyword is that it is always put in front of the method, and now the calling method, the sum method is the calling method, and this is the called method. The calling method responsibility, okay, okay, will take the responsibility to throw it again to main method. Now finally main method is also throwing, and it will be handled by JVM. So now here we cannot show any report. JVM will print its own, okay, print stack trace or whatever the message JVM wants to do. We cannot do anything from our side, right? So what we can do with throws keyword, and another problem with throws keyword is that the program will be terminated, right? So if you write anything over here, let's see system.out.println, now I'm printing ABC. So if you run, see ABC is not getting printed because some method, okay, this main method is giving Java line numbers, okay, 7, that giving an exception. So if you have written 1,000 lines of code, after line number 7 won't be executed because the program got terminated. Now how to handle it? So somehow we have to use try catch block, otherwise you cannot do that, right? So throws keyword is nothing, just a kind of handling where exception will be thrown from one method to another method, and ultimately it is reaching to the main method, and main method to the JVM, and JVM is giving that what kind of error is there, but the program is getting terminated. So how will you handle it? So to handle this thing, guys, what we can do, let's see, um, I'll remove this, okay, thing from here, and I'll remove this thing from here as well, right? And what will happen, that simple, this particular div, okay, is throwing an exception. So if you run it, simple that, okay, ultimately the same, that div throws an exception, and then it reaches to div, and ultimately on line number this, it's giving an exception. So what I'll do, that I know that, okay, div method is giving an exception, so either you write a try catch block over here just to avoid the termination, and then you can write, let's like this also, that's try div, okay, and catch arithmetic exception E or something like this, okay, and then immediately you handle it, and let's run it. See, now I handled my exception and ABC is getting printed now. So I know that, okay, this div is giving an exception because I'm calling this div method and it's giving an exception. The exception will be given on line number 14, but here we are not writing any throws. We are just handling with try catch block. So immediately I handle it and then edit it. So sometimes what happens that, okay, you need to write a code like this also, that, okay, one method is giving an exception, a calling method, instead of writing throws, you just write try catch block. And this calling method you can write inside the try block, because we know that, okay, this line is producing some exception. So better to write inside the try block, handle it by catch block. Okay, now it is not reaching to JVM. So you can combinedly write throws and try catch block like this. Right? So this is the difference between try catch and throws keyword. One important concept, guys, here, that I'll show you one thing. So there are two classes, error and exception. Okay, there are two classes, error and exception. So let's see, these two classes are there. This is called error class and this is called exception class. Okay, this is error. Okay, this is error class and this is exception class. Okay, okay, whatever. And then we have one more class is there, that is called throwable class. Okay, throwable, THROWABLE. So this is a throwable class. This error class is the child of throwable and this exception class is also child of throwable. Okay, so you never know that what kind of exception is coming or what kind of error is coming. So there is a difference between error and exception. Sometimes, okay, error means any syntax error. Error means any fatal error or memory leakage error or let's see, memory full error, or okay, that's an error. Exception means some unwanted or unpredictable behavior of the code where suddenly some exception is coming, like arithmetic exception or array index out of bound exception or null pointer exception or something like this. These kind of your the coding problem, that's your code problem. Okay, so that's your uh, exception. So you never know that, okay, maybe it's a exception is coming or error is coming okay, from the try block. Let's see this, I have written some line of code inside a try block in which some error is coming, or okay, but if you have written arithmetic exception, so obviously if error is getting thrown, you cannot catch in, okay, with arithmetic exception. So what we have to write, you have to write like this, error E. So either you write error E or write arithmetic exception, right? Or you can write one super class like this, throwable directly. Now, what is the purpose of throwable? Now, any error is coming or exception is coming, it will be handled by throwable only. See, if you see the description, the throwable class is the super class of all errors and exceptions in Java language, right? So it's a super class of error and exception. It's a very famous interview question. What is a super class of error and exception? Throwable. So throwable is the class we just handle. Why we are using throwable? Because throwable we are using for if any exception, see, instances of error and error are conventionally used to indicate that exception situation have occurred. So that's why it's saying that inside the try block, if any error or exceptions are coming, it is used to indicate that exception situations have occurred. Typically, these instances are freshly created in the context of the exception situation so as to include relevant information such as stack trace data. So you just need to write that, okay, if any errors or any exception is coming, you can handle it by throwable class also. So you never know that what is coming from, okay, from the try block. Maybe it's an error or maybe it's an exception. So the good practice is that you can write throwable. like this over here. Okay, now let's see, you are pretty much sure that okay, no errors are coming. So obviously you will write what you know, that okay, int I equal to 9 divided by 0, arithmetic exception you are writing over here. But you don't know that okay, so you have executed and I told you that okay, this arithmetic exception will be thrown, but you never know that okay, some different exception is coming, so you cannot remember each and every exception, right? So there are multiple exception classes are available in Java, guys. Multiple classes are available exception wise: null pointer, arithmetic, array, auto bound. Okay, all these classes are okay, the child of extending exception. All these classes are child of exception class, right? So instead of writing arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, array index auto bound, string, okay, or some element not found exception or whatever, all the selenium exception also are what? These are, let's say, selenium exceptions. Okay, all these exceptions are okay, the child of exception class. So instead of writing individual name over here, that arithmetic exception or whatever, you can do one thing, you can directly write only exception over. Okay, you can directly write exception also. Now you don't need to take care about which exception is coming. Automatically it will be taken care by exception only, right? So this is the thing that you have to remember. This is the thing that you have to remember, guys.
Naveen, one question is that let's say we are this is one small program and we can able to identify like where we are getting the error. That's the reason we are putting arithmetic exception or maybe null point exception.
Hmm.
But in practical scenario, let's say we have like thousands lines of codes and we are not able to find out where is the where the exception might be occurs.
Hmm.
So in that situation, how will
No,
handle?
yeah, okay. No, it's not like that. Okay, I'm writing the code and 1,000 lines of code I can write in a single shot. No, we are writing the code, we are dividing the code, and we are executing, we are debugging it, and then smartly we are customizing it and we are upgrading our code. Okay, we are not upgrading, sorry, we are enhancing our code with the help of try catch block, with the help of exception handling. So it's not like that okay, today you have written 10,000 lines of code in within 9 hours and then you are executing it. No, so you have to write the code, small code, the chunk of code you have to write, and then obviously then you will see that okay, yes, these lines are giving some exception, then I can handle it or I cannot handle it. Like this you will improve your code, you will enhance your code. There is no formula that okay, you will get to know automatically, and you should remember all these exceptions, that okay, this line of code will surely will give you this exception. No one can remember that. So you have to execute it, then you will see that okay, yes, this line is giving an exception, so I have to okay, right, like this. Somewhere in some situation we are already aware about it. Let's see, divide by 0 or array index, or maybe file is not okay available, something like this. In that case, obviously, so I'll show you when we handle file handlings. Okay, when we read the properties file, okay, in next couple of sessions you will get to know. In that case we are handling with the help of file not found exception or something like this. So somewhere you are aware about it, somewhere you are not aware about it, you have to execute it and you have to observe, and then you have to do it. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay,
Okay.
okay. Thank you.
One last thing is, one more keyword is there, guys, that is called throw keyword. Can anyone tell me about throw keyword? Not throws. So there is a difference between throws and throw. Anyone? Adam? So very good. You forgot. Okay. So guys, please remember this diagram. You can see, draw this diagram. Okay. Throw keyword, throwable class is there. And what is the, can anyone tell me what is the parent class of throwable? Object class. Object is a super class of, okay, object is the super class of all the classes. So you can directly write object also there. Object E also you can write. Okay. So yeah, object is a super class of all the classes. So error or exceptions are okay extending throwable, and throwable is extending object. So please remember this diagram. Please draw this diagram in your in your notebook or in your copy. People will ask you question about it. Okay, and it's a very impressive answer if you give an answer like this. Most of the people, they are not aware about it. Okay, so I'm now deleting this diagram now. Okay, okay, okay. Anyone, what is throw keyword? No. Okay. Have you ever heard about it? What is throw? And what is the difference between throw and throws? It's very famous interview question. Okay, no problem. So guys, what is throw keyword is? Throw keyword is used when you have to throw an exception deliberately. You want that, okay, I want to create my own exception and I want to throw it. Okay, and I want that sometimes what happens that okay, some exceptions are not there in Java. Let's see, right? That Java cannot create each and every exception. So you can create your own exception also. That let's see, whenever any situation is happening, that let's see, whenever and I want to terminate my program, and then or maybe I just throw my own exception. Let's see, Naveen exception, just like arithmetic exception or null pointer exception. I'm saying Naveen exception, or let's see, my exception, whatever the name you can give. So you can okay deliberately you can throw an exception as well with the help of throw keyword. So how will you do that with the help of throw keyword? So what we have to do, we just need to use, let's see, I'm printing something over here, system.out.println abc, and after a few lines, let's say I'm printing pqr, right? And in between I want to throw an exception. So how will you throw it? Let's see, we just need to write throw keyword, throw, throw, not throws. Throws is used, I've already covered, in front of the method name. Now what is throw? Throw is as a keyword throw, and just write new exception class. You have to class object you have to create. Okay, throw new exception. So what exactly it will do? It will call the constructor of exception class, and we have to pass one parameter, a string parameter, that let's see, um, Naveen exception. Okay, fine. And what exactly is saying that unreachable code, because obviously you are throwing one exception over here. So obviously this is unreachable code, line number 12, immediately it will give you error. So either you remove it or okay, handle this line. So on line number 10, I'm throwing my own exception, or whatever the name you want to give, Adam exception or Vidhu exception or Naveen exception, or okay, whatever, on the basis of your condition, that deliberately if you want to throw some exception, simple, you just need to do it. So obviously on line number 10, one exception will be thrown. The name of exception is Naveen exception, right? So what I'll do, obviously exception has been thrown, so you have to catch it. So who will catch? Either you surround with try catch block like this, right? Throw new exception. Obviously this line number 11 is throwing an exception, so immediately we have to write inside the try block, right? And then this exception will be thrown, and then catch exception e in e.print stack trace. Simple, you can write like this. Now immediately on line number 16, error is gone. Now this is the reachable code, and then if you run it, so what is the output? See, first it is printing ABC. So don't worry, it's like what is the sequence like this? First it's printing ABC, then it's printing PQR, it's printing PQR, and also it's giving you print stack trace that one exception is coming, Naveen exception. The name of the exception is Naveen exception, and on line number 11, okay, the exception, okay, has been thrown, and it is caught by a catch block, and then PQR is getting printed on the console, right? So you can do like this as well. Now let's see. I'll comment. I don't want to handle it by try block. I'll write this exception once again, throw new exception. I'll deliberately generate my exception. Again, this is a dead code, not reachable code, and you would add throws declaration. So again, add throws declaration, fine. So this immediately one exception will be thrown. But what happened? Immediately exception will be thrown, and it will be thrown by main method, and it will be given to JVM, and JVM will print some message. But who is catching it? Who is resolving? Nobody. So we are not handling it actually. JVM is also not handling. JVM is just catching it and then printing on the console. So that's why this PQR is again unreachable code. So this is not the way of writing the code. So whenever deliberately, if you want to handle your exception, you have to handle your exception, okay, like this. Your throw keyword should be surrounded with try catch block, right? Your throw keyword should not be surrounded with throws block. Throws keyword, you have to write like this. Okay, so deliberately I can generate my exception, my own exception on the basis of some condition like this. Let's say you are reading Excel file. On reading Excel file, some cell is missing or some column is missing. So immediately the moment you read, and then you will say that okay, uh, okay, let's see. I'll give you some more proper example. I have one variable. Let's see, from Excel file, I have one variable that um, execution flag is equal to no n. Okay, execution flag is equal to n means that one column is there, the value of execution flag is no. So we will see Excel file reading and all those things later. But let's see, I have written one execution flag is equal to n, right? So yes no I have written, but the moment I see if execution flag value inside the Excel file in my cell is n, I put one condition over here that if execution flag is equal to n, right? So this value is coming from Excel file, but although I'm not writing any Excel file code, so deliberately I'm writing n over here. If something like this, so condition, what will happen? Condition, okay, sorry, dot equals, okay, if execution flag dot equals n, what? Throw new exception. And what is your exception name? Let's see, um, simple. Okay, throw new exception. I'll put it like this. Now if execution flag is no, throw this exception and surround with try catch block. Fine, perfect. So this code is perfectly fine that if execution flag is no, in that case, or maybe execution flag, or maybe some cell value is blank. Sometime what we do that, okay, we do a blank. Let's see, a blank value is coming or something like this, a blank value or no value. So execution flag is okay, or maybe no exception or whatever. Execution flag is blank, something like this. So if you run it, immediately it will give you an error that execution flag is blank exception. So I'm generating my own exception, my custom exception, like this, on the basis of my condition that in my program I want to generate some exception also, and then I want to create a report like this. So how exactly test-ng assertions and all those things, whenever any assertion is getting failed, so they have customized their own exception handling like that, and they are giving all these exceptions like this, right? So this is the purpose of throw keyword. Although throw keyword we don't use generally in our framework, but if you want, you can use it. So these are the three basic handling, exception handling. We have try catch block, we have throws keyword, and we have throw keyword. So please remember, very, very important for interview point of view. Okay.
And Naveen, does it throw a new exception? Does it handle abnormal termination of our program, like try catch does?
Yeah. No. It will not. If you handle it by try catch block, it won't. See, that's why it's printing PQR, right? If you are writing after some line, after this, if you are writing, let's see, test over here. If you have handled it properly, test is getting printed. So it will not terminate. Okay, because you have handled it. Okay, with the help of try catch block. So that's a purpose. So if you are generating your own exception, it should not terminate your program, but it should give you the exception also, the name of your exception, so that you can debug it properly and you can see in the report and log that okay, this is the exception is coming, and you will okay continue your execution as well for the other lines. So it will not terminate immediately. Okay, so
now if
Mhm.
now if you get rid of the try catch block and just leave the throw new exception, if you just leave the throw new exception, would the test get printed? If you get rid of the try catch block?
No, immediately it will give you error, right? That's why I told you. If you don't write inside the try catch block, the red line error will be there. And then if you handle it by throws keyword, then the program will be terminated. It will not print test. That's what I told you, right? Okay, let me show you again quickly. Let me delete try catch block, right? So either you handle it by try catch or add throws declaration, right? So what will happen? So if you run it, see immediately execution flag blank is coming on line number 20, and test is not getting printed now. The program will be terminated, right? So always you have to do it with the help of try catch block, guys. Okay, now I surrounded with try catch block. Now on line number 20 it will throw an exception and the test is also getting printed. Okay, cool. So that's all for today. Please watch this recording once again. I think yesterday recording is also pending from my side. Yes, yeah. I'll send both the recordings. Please watch and let me know if you have any issues.
Naveen, yesterday and before yesterday also, Vinny. I mean,
Today I'll do it. Yeah, like yesterday I couldn't get time, so today I'll do all these backlogs. I have other things also, so today I'll do like everything for you guys. Okay. So,
okay, see, thank you.
but don't worry. See, don't rely on recordings, guys. That's why like intentionally I don't send sometimes. I just want to see that okay, how exactly you are practicing. Are you preparing your notes and all? At the end of the day, you are getting all the recordings. Obviously, after 2 days or 3 days, but don't wait for recordings. Just write your notes, whatever you can remember. Just okay, try to write. And the recordings is there, then obviously you will have to do that. What will I do? Okay, with these recordings. Okay, I have so many recordings with me. It's good for you guys. Obviously, I'll send it to you. Maybe 2-3 days later, but please practice. Okay. Anyways, so I'm leaving now. I'll see you tomorrow then.